Hello and welcome back to Off-Season Outlooks. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Minnesota Vikings. A very timely episode considering about 10 minutes ago Sam Darnold and his Seattle Seahawks just went to the Super Bowl. It's not a great feeling right now for Vikings fans, I can tell you that much. Listen, they go from straight up contention, 14 wins under Sam Darnold, to they still went 9-8 this season, very rocky, missed the playoffs, and their outlook is pretty bleak. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. They stand at negative $37.2 million in cap. That's what happens when you go out and you sign a bunch of expensive, big-name free agents like Javon Hargrave, extending Jonathan Grenard. They went all in on this season and on surrounding J.J. McCarthy and Brian Flores' defense with the best talent, and it didn't work out. And there are several changes that need to happen because of it. The theme of this offseason rebuild for them should be playing complementary football. Why should that be the theme? Because financially, and with where they're selecting in the draft at pick 18, I think the best option for them is to run it back with J.J. McCarthy. He's still unproven. He has the injury history. He had some abysmal games. He had some great games. Talk about winning in Detroit, where he was extraordinary, to say the least. It makes the most sense to run it back with him. Even if it doesn't work out, it gives you a year to manage the cap. They got to get things right. Okay, first order of business, we are cutting Javon Hargrave. He was unproductive towards the end of the year. He's an aging D lineman. He never has really done much since his very impactful days of the Philadelphia Eagles. He went to the Niners, didn't do much there. Signed him as a big name. We're cutting him, saving $11 million against the cap. Second order of business, and this is very unfortunate, but we are going to have to cut Aaron Jones. Look, Aaron Jones is very talented, especially receiving out of the backfield. He was great for this offense, especially under Sam Darnold. I know KOC would hate to see him go. But listen, we can't be paying a running back this much money with this many holes in this roster, okay? We're going to have to cut him, release him. That will save us $8 million. Next order of business, we are cutting center Ryan Kelly. This one hurts, but he's an aging guy in a big contract. He had a good season. We're going to have to find another center deep in the draft. We're going to save $9 million by cutting him. Next order of business, to save more cap, we are going to trade TJ Hawkinson to the San Francisco 49ers for a 2026 fourth round pick and a 2027 fifth round pick. Look, a lot of people might be upset with this. They don't think we're getting the value that we deserve. TJ Hawkinson is getting paid $23 million this year, and he is not the most productive tight end, I'll tell you that. Teams are looking at tight ends that have been taken high in the draft, and they're getting a lot of production out of those. I think right here you can exploit the fact that the 49ers lose George Kittle for, honestly, the majority of next season and are staring down an offense devoid of playmakers, devoid of a security blanket for Brock Purdy. The 49ers also have 3 fourth-round picks this year, a lot of compensatory draft capital. I expect that they would be more willing to part with a fourth-round pick than a lot of other teams, and obviously they have that hole in their roster. So shipping off TJ Hawkinson offloads $15 million of his cap hit. Now, since we've done some cleaning out, we've done our duty, we've done the unfun part of the job, we can look at who we're going to add to this roster. PFF's 26th rated offense, 16th rated defense. Coaching-wise, KOC is an offensive genius. That's why I'm going to give him a lot of leniency with who we put at skill positions. And then obviously the Vikings retain Brian Flores in his incredible defensive mind, barring him being hired in the next couple of days. I know the Buffalo job is still open. The Raiders' job is still open. The Cardinals' job is still open. But this is all under the assumption that we are retaining Brian Flores. So, after all that cap say, we're going to look at what we're going to do at pick 18 in the first round. Now, a lot of people are going to look at the statistics I just read out about the offensive and defensive rankings and jump the gun on taking a skill position player or a tackle. That's not what we're going to do here. We are going to double down on Brian Flores and double down on this strong defense, and we are going to draft Avion Terrell from Clemson. I know this raises a lot of red flags, especially with the Vikings draft history at this position. Look, the last DBs drafted by Kwesi Adofo-Mensah and his staff has been Louis Sine, who just joined the UFL, Andrew Booth, who didn't play a snap of NFL football this year, Mekhi Blackman, who was taken in the early hundreds, was traded to the Colts for a 6th round pick, and then you have the Kyrie Jackson tragedy, which no one could have predicted. Like I said, they already have a pretty strong secondary with Isaiah Rodgers and Byron Murphy Jr., but adding this third corner really puts the pressure on opposing offenses. And look, they're going to get a lot of pressure from opposing offenses this year. In their division, you got the Bears, you're going to have to be guarding Colston Loveland, Luther Burden, DJ Moore, he's still on the roster at this point, Roma Dunze. The Lions, we know what a juggernaut they are with Jahmyr Gibbs and Amon-Ra St. Brown. And then you have the Packers, who love to go vertical with Jordan Love, who seems to just sit in the pocket forever before throwing a rope to Christian Watson downfield. We're giving Brian Flores another guy. We're giving him a weapon in Avion Terrell. Listen, the reason why I love Avion Terrell is because he has a 94.1 PFF grade in pass rush, and nobody loves to send the blitz and rush the passer more than Brian Flores. Avion Terrell fits the profile for a Brian Flores DB. He flies around the field. He had 3 sacks this year. He's a very physical corner. Like I said, this is adding strength to strength. Their defense is already first in team opponent passing yards allowed a game. But listen, you can afford this when you have KOC coaching the offense. And you can afford this when you know that Brian Flores Jr. is going to get the most out of this player. With their second round pick, that's pick 49, I expect them to make up for the Javon Hargrave cut. And Jonathan Allen could possibly get cut too. He's just been disappointing, honestly, up the middle, not really providing much of a rush, not that many QB hurries, and he gets paid a lot. So I could see him going. I definitely see Javon Hargrave going. So with pick 49, I would look towards the trenches. I like Lee Hunter out of Texas Tech. Spent his first few collegiate seasons at UCF, and then he was part of that Texas Tech buying spree, to say the least, including David Bailey and himself. He had an 82.7 PFF grade against the run for that top Texas Tech defense. He's got a lot of talent. I expect his measurables to come out strong at the combine. So I think they go in the trenches in the second round. And then this gets me to a very important piece of the puzzle for their offense, which was 29th in passing yards a game, 28th in yards per game, and 26th in points per game. It was abysmal. It was pretty abysmal, to say the least. So, in the third round, and this is not just a 101 switch because we cut Aaron Jones, but it does work out in that fashion. He does have a similar build and play style to Aaron Jones, but we are drafting Jadarian Price, 5'10", 210 out of Notre Dame. He shares the backfield there with Jeremiah Love, and that's why he's going to be a third-round pick and not a back of the first round, top of the second round guy, which I really think he has the talent to be. Listen, the Vikings offense last year was 27th in rushing attempts per game, despite being 11th in yards per rushing attempt at 4.5 yards. They ran the ball well, they just got away from it. In this Notre Dame backfield, 21% of designed running plays were explosive. That's 10 plus yards for Jadarian Price. That means runs that were dialed up for him went for 10 plus yards about a fifth of the time. That number was 19% for Jeremiah Love. Again, I'm adjusting their statistics because Jeremiah Love got so many more touches than Jadarian Price. But if you just look at the percentage of explosiveness, as Jeremiah Love has been touted as one of the most explosive players in the draft, especially the most explosive at running position, Jadarian Price is right on his level, if not even a heightened version. I like pairing him in the backfield with Jordan Mason. Jordan Mason is a much bigger back. He's more of a bell cow. He comes in at about 225 pounds. Jordan Mason is not a threat out of the backfield in the passing game at all. He only has a good 83 PFF rushing grade, an abysmal 42 PFF receiving grade. He does not catch the ball in open space. He's not a polished route runner. He did not take that away from Christian McCaffrey while he was with the Niners. He is a down the middle runner, which is fine because Jadarian Price can get out of the backfield and he can make plays in open space, and you can send him out on a Texas route, on a hot route. And that's going to be great for J.J. McCarthy because they need to take the pressure off of him. Obviously, he doesn't feel comfortable pushing the ball downfield, as that is really where he got into trouble with interceptions. The ball just got away from him one too many times, and I expect with a full offseason of development under KOC, he will be able to fix that. But there's no doubt having Jadarian Price as a viable check-down option for him will allow him to flourish. I mean, we saw him thrive at Michigan with their two-headed run game in Blake Corum and Dylan Edwards. Now, that's a next level of relying on the run. That's not going to happen here. He's not going to be able to get away with throwing 15 passes in a game that he did at Michigan in the NFL. But if we're going to give him the best chance to succeed this season, Jadarian Price is an amazing pick there in the third round. He takes a lot of pressure off of him and the offense. Now, an idea for the offense, I would explore trading Jordan Addison. I think Jordan Addison's got a lot of demand. Everybody knows how important an X receiver is, but look, if you're the Vikings, you have Justin Jefferson. You're good at that position. You can afford to have Jalen Naylor be your wide receiver too, especially if you're replacing Addison with another weapon. And that's why I would pick up the phone. I would call Brandon Beane and the Buffalo Bills, who are under a lot of heat right now, see if they might be more motivated to make a move to treat their rabid fan base at the moment. And I would look at trading Jordan Addison straight up because I don't think they're going to have to add any more draft capital to him to get Dalton Kincaid. Listen. Dalton Kincaid is a slot threat. JJ is always out wide. JJ lines out out wide on 71.9% of the Vikings snaps on offense. Dalton Kincaid is a slot player. He would fit right into their offensive scheme. Listen, he doesn't pass block, okay? So you're not replacing TJ Hawkinson's ability there. But if you get him down the seam, he is athletic. We saw, obviously, what J.J. McCarthy did with Colston Loveland at Michigan. I know it's not a one-on-one comparison. But listen, Jordan Addison, look, he's a young guy. But he's got a DUI. He had this weird trespassing case. He's got some injury history. I know Dalton Kincaid does too. But it just doesn't seem like Jordan Addison is really... If you're looking at culture, he's definitely not a culture guy. Listen, he was drafted 2 picks before Kincaid in the draft. There were a ton of mocks that had him going to the Bills, finally getting their weapon for Josh Allen that they still have not gotten to this day. You could say they were trying with Kincaid, but he's not an X receiver, and that's what the Bills need. They have Dawson Knox, who becomes a free agent next year. He would be an expensive re-signing, but Josh Allen and Dawson Knox have had a good connection for years. You know that that's there. Can he develop something with Dalton Kincaid? We definitely saw it this season. We saw a lot of progression with him, but like I said, the NFL is run by X receivers. The Vikings already got theirs in Justin Jefferson. And they have a second one in waiting in Jordan Addison. And I think that they should exploit that because he's got a lot of demand. I'll tell you that. Jordan Addison's got demand. So I wouldn't necessarily shop him for anything, but I think that's very interesting, adding Kincaid to this offense, adding Kincaid to KOC's repertoire. All right. Those are a couple ideas for the Vikings. I think if they make these moves, they have a much better chance of competing in their stacked division. But listen, with this abysmal cap situation and just how many strikeouts they had with free agent signings and draft picks, Kwesi Adofo-Mensah has not drafted well, as I listed off all those DBs that didn't pan out. It's a tough situation for them. This draft is extremely important. I laid out the first 3 picks. I think with the rest, they go in the trenches or the O-line. And you got to trust the coaching staff to develop at the end of the day. Yeah, this has been Offseason Outlook. Thank you for listening.